Hi, my name is Robert Chelle with Chelle Law, and I'm an attorney that assists physician assistants with employment contract and independent contractor agreement issues. Today I'm going to talk about independent contractor agreements for physician assistants. So, some key things that need to be in the agreement, and then some key things you need to watch out for. So, the main difference between an employment agreement and an independent contractor agreement is as an employee, taxes are taking out of any of your compensation. You receive a W-2 at the end of the year. And whereas as an independent contractor, no taxes are taken out of your compensation. You just get the full amount that whatever agree to, and then you receive a 1099 at the end of the year. Now, why would someone be an employee versus an independent contractor? Well, the IRS has kind of a 20-factor test that says if the who you're working for requires this, and this, you may be an employee. Whereas if you have control over your schedule and you can tell them when you are or are not working, and you're providing your own malpractice and you're not getting any benefits, then maybe you're more towards an independent contractor. Usually, an independent contractor relationship would be legitimate if you're just doing kind of intermittent work for a practice. So if you're working full-time, they're telling you when to work, they're telling you where to work, they're providing you with all of the staffing and admin and equipment and benefits. You're most likely being misclassified if you're not an employee. If you are, as I said before, filling in maybe once a week or a few times a month, then it may make more sense that you're an independent contractor. Now, what are the main differences between the two? As I said before, usually as an employee, they're going to pay benefits. So they're going to cover your licensing fees and DEA. They'll usually cover your malpractice and then, health, vision, dental, life, retirement, all that kind of stuff. Whereas an independent contractor, usually those are all the responsibility of you. Sometimes, as an independent contractor, whoever you're working for would provide your malpractice insurance. But that's usually the only thing that they would cover. They generally would not cover anything else. A few things you absolutely don't want in an independent contractor agreement. One, it cannot be exclusive, meaning there can't be any language in that states you cannot work anywhere else, while the contract is in place. You shouldn't accept any kind of non-compete. Just because it's an independent contractor agreement doesn't mean that a non-compete can't be enforced. Now, perhaps you're in a state where they're completely unenforceable. You should check on that first. But signing any kind of independent contractor agreement where it prohibits you or restricts you from working anywhere after the contract is terminated does not make any sense. They may try to throw in a non-solicitation agreement. Another thing they may say, you can't actively solicit any employees or patients. That's fine, but they may throw in like a non-treatment, meaning it may say you cannot treat any patients that you treated with the practice after the contract ends. That's something I would try to avoid. Most of the time, a PA has no control over who they are. Like, if the practice is bringing these patients and they're doing the marketing and the PA is just providing the care, they're not really responsible for who they provide care to. So that's another thing you want to be, concerned with. The payment and the timing of the payment is important. So how much are you getting paid? Usually as an independent contractor, you should be paid hourly or perhaps per shift. Getting some kind of base salary leans more towards an employee-employer relationship. So you should not be paid a base salary as an independent contractor. And those are just some of the factors that go into it. Is one better than the other? It just depends upon the situation. I mean, the only major downside is if you're working for an employer, they classify you as an independent contractor, and then either the state or the IRS comes in and does an audit and determines that you are actually an employee. There could be some penalties or fines associated with that. So you want to make certain there's no language. Sometimes they'll call it indemnification that says that you are responsible for all of the fines and penalties. If an organization finds that you were misclassified, that should be on the employer, not on the PA. All right, that's a little background on independent contractor agreements for physician assistants. If you have any questions about your employment agreement or independent contractor agreement, feel free to contact my firm. All of the information is listed below in the description, and I appreciate you watching the video. All right, take care.